Stanton Dahl essentially is an architectural practice. We've been around for 35 years, delivering social housing, education, aged care, and retirement living projects. We essentially are architects in the service of people. Our purpose really at Stanton Dahl is to make a difference in people's lives. Our main sectors are education, aged care, retirement living, and social housing. Now, for instance, if you take aged care, when we say service of people, we know the person who comes to us with the project is obviously the provider. And then the person who selects the space is the son or the daughter. But we are eventually designing for the end user, the person who's going to occupy the space, the mom or the dad. And so we need to make sure the space that we design ticks all the boxes to make the space as comfortable as possible for the end user. So in addition to the residents, the staff is an important part of the facility, and the social impact has to extend to their lives as well and how they react to that particular space. So we need our designs to perform in such a way that they can give their best, having been in a social setting which gets them to perform at the best levels. All projects, we have 4 customers essentially. We have the clinical team who deals with or who wants to know whether the project we deliver will meet their model of care. We've got the financial team who needs to know if the project will stack up financially for them. We've got the marketability team who wants to be able to sell what we design. And eventually we've got the management and the board who's got an overarching view to ensure that what the project we come up with, the solutions we come up with, meet their vision, meets their requirement. Of equal importance is also the soft issues part of the project. For instance, the well-being of the mental well-being of the resident. Is he or she happy to be in that space? It's their home eventually. The staff, are they happy? Are they satisfied working in that space? What about the grandkids who come to visit, the family? Are they happy being there when they come there to see mom or dad? So this is what we want to be aware of when we design that space, because there is no formula to design that. It's how we create that experience. There's definitely an excitement in the air right now. We've got clients coming to us with retirement living projects, aged care projects, and even a combination of the two, the assisted living projects. Assisted living, it's exciting because it's a challenge, It provides us with opportunities to come up with new solutions, new options. We don't have a handbook for it. So your solutions, you've got to be across everything, right from the National Construction Code classes, for instance. You're bringing a class 2 and a class 9C together. And there's no rules written as to what needs to be there and a part of that building. So you work with the consultants, you try and you want, because as the needs of the residents change, the needs for security and safety also change. So you need to be able to either inbuild that or have a provision for it as you develop the building. So assisted living will be the norm. That's what we believe, mainly because it allows a person to continue to age, because as they age, your cognitive abilities change. So you can still continue to be in that same setting, maintain your connections, your local baker, your news agency. You get to stay with your partner. You maintain all your social settings. You're familiar with this space, even your everyday things like where your lift buttons are, for instance, or how do you go to the clubhouse. So if you get to maintain that, the resident eventually is a happy resident. So definitely, I think that's the way of the future. The resident, for instance, if you know what happens when they move into an aged care, it's like you're clipping their freedom, literally everything. You can't move there, you can't do this at a particular time. We want to design facilities, of course, with close coordination with consultants and the provider, where the resident gets their freedom back. They can move around as they please. They can choose what they want to do. So that's essentially how we define giving the dignity back. Blur the lines of front of house and resident areas, for instance. Because you've just come from a place where you had the freedom to just step out, go and get a cup of coffee, and suddenly you've got to be behind, you've got to wait for the coffee. While there's a cafe, most aged care facilities have a cafe in the front of house area, but the residents are not allowed there for whatever reason. So why can't you just maintain that same freedom? I guess then that's essentially done because there's security and safety aspect. Someone with a dementia profile, you don't want them wandering out. So then we design the security or safety points a little more discreetly and a little more further away, allowing more movement for the residents. We're doing a facility in Southwest Sydney where we've got a very forward-thinking client. He wanted to deliver a project which would have solutions which would give back to the resident. For instance, in this project, the resident is allowed to go beyond the front of house line as such. It is a virtual line, but residents were not allowed even to the cafe, which is just out there, because of, say, security, safety issues. But now we're blurring those lines. We're moving the checkpost a bit further, which allows the resident to move around a bit more. The other aspect that we're doing in that same facility is the staff facilities that we're providing. The provider has actually gone beyond. Besides the traditional spaces of lockers and change rooms, we even have recreational areas for the staff. We have a couple of rooms which allows the staff to actually take a break or even have overnight accommodation for the staff if need be. And more importantly, they have access to outdoors. There's an exclusively designed staff garden area, which is something I think I haven't come across this in my projects earlier. So the staff, because they've been working long hours, or even in the similar situations that we were in, where the staff had to be in the facility for really, really long, they could just step out, be in the sun, take a break, and then come back recharged to serve the residents. Technology will always be there. We're doing a lot of interesting things with technology, but if essentially it comes down to how we design the home, technology needs to support that. So if we can focus on creating the right setting for the resident, we would always get the support we need from technology.